I don't know what happened, but it just kicked me out of that little room. So I think I'm not gonna use that room no more. Until I can figure out how to get it to where other people can come on. But yeah, I just remember thinking that I don't know why is this particular incident happening to me. I didn't remember. I didn't understand why he chose me. Like, I really just didn't understand um why that moment in time was happening. And I remember thinking if his daddy or his mama come out of that room, because I mean, it was like their room was like right there. There's a wall, and then there's this little den space, right? So if I can remember the area that we were at, it had my brother come out of his room, his sister come out of that room, or his parents come out the room. It was like it was no hiding it. It was like it wouldn't have been anything that he could have said that would have made any type of sense as to why that situation looked like it did, right? So I remember that throughout the entire, it probably was maybe 30 minutes of whatever was transpiring, right? So I can remember throughout the time he just kept saying, if we say anything, um, nobody not gonna believe you. Like they gonna swear you lying, and I'm gonna deny it, and you know nobody not gonna believe you. I'm thinking to myself, he's like a brother to me. His sister's like my sister. She's like my best friend. At that time, she was my first best friend. Yeah, yep, she was at that time, she was my first best friend. It was her, and then it was LaShonda Rue. Those are my two first best friends that I ever had, other than this, um, a girl named, I think her name Becky? But she tried to teach me sign language. Her mom or somebody was deaf. She was in the West Lodge apartments with us. But anyway, at that time, his sister was like my own best friend. Like our families, all of my mom's family knew them. Most of my father's family knew, the family because, like I said, her father was like the big coach at Lee High School. At that time, we only had two high schools in Baytown, Lee and Sterling. So everybody pretty much knew their family, and a lot of people know my mom's side of the family, and a lot of people know my father's family as well. So I knew that probably what he was saying was going to be the truth. And I really didn't want my father, I really instantly was thinking, my brother going to beat you, and my father going to kill you. And I just knew that it was going to, in my mind, I felt like there's no way I want to let my father kill somebody and he going to prison. I just can't see that happening. And I'm not gonna let my brother get in trouble for beating you up because then he gonna get in trouble and that's not gonna be good. And then I was thinking to myself, I'm gonna lose my best friend, because I just didn't want to lose. I just didn't want to lose my friend. My friends still to this day are everything to me. So I remember probably like the 2 weekends after that. I think I didn't go over there, and I remember like at church, my brother would go and I wouldn't say anything, and my brother would be like, "You ain't coming, chump babe, you're not coming." Like I think I just kind of just, I think if I'm not mistaken, for those 2 weekends, I was like, can you bring me to the country? I think I remember asking my father to bring me to the country. Like I just didn't want, and I remember my mother saying like, "What's wrong? Like you don't feel good?" And I was like, "I think I ate something," because I was hurt, but I didn't know what to say. I just kind of didn't say anything. And I know a whole year went by of situations between him and me, I didn't say anything about. And I don't think I had said anything about it to anybody until my sister Shawanda became my sister. And when my sister Shawanda became my sister, she was the first person that I told. And I really was afraid to tell her because my sister Shawanda has always been the way she is. She has always been that one to where I'm gonna tell somebody, or we're gonna beat them up, or they going to jail. It's just her, like if you hurt somebody that belongs to her, she instantly just wants to try to, like, you ain't gotta say nothing, I'm gonna protect you. She has always been like, you ain't gotta say nothing, I'm gonna protect you type of sister, right? And I remember she asked me, like, tell me what happened, and how, what you mean, and she was always like, you could just tell me, you ain't gotta, like, not break it down or whatever. So I remember telling her, and she told our mom at the time. And my sister, our older sister, was telling me that she remembered that this morning, and I was like, I had totally forgot that. She was like, I remember Mom made you come sit at the table and tell us, or tell her. I was like, yeah, because Shawanda had to go tell her, and I was like, I didn't tell you to say that, but it, in a way, it kind of made me feel like, okay, I could tell somebody, because I was getting to the point to where I think I had started really doing stuff for my mother. This is gonna sound crazy, but I can remember doing stuff that I knew my mother was going to beat me for, but it was like her beating me for it kind of helped me release that type of heaviness that I had, because it gave me a reason to cry about something, um, and not feel like I was a punk, or not feel like I was like a punk, because I never just wanted to be that girl that was soft like that. Like, I know girls supposed to be soft. I understand that now, but back then I wanted to be like my father. I hardly ever saw my father cry. My father hardly ever just showed like that something hurt his feelings, unless he lost somebody, like, to death or something like that. I think that was some of the only time. And sometimes my father would lose people that were so close to him, he still wouldn't show his emotions. It's just I always wanted to be like him. And my mother is like that too. She has a certain type of just strength to her, right? So anyway, I remember it was time for me to come back home from my sister Shawanda and Dana, and I was like, I don't want to go. She was like, "Sis, you gotta go home. If I could, I would. You could stay here with us. I don't. I was like, but Mama ain't. She ain't going for it. I gotta be back at home. And at this time, my parents, has my parents had separated, and I was still living with my mother. I hadn't moved with my father then. Um, so my mother was like, "Yeah, you can go wherever you want, but you're gonna be back here, when you need to be." So I remember going back. I was like, "I don't want to go." And my sister was like, "Are you gonna tell?" And I was like, "No, they ain't gonna believe me." I said, "I have you. I told you, da 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 da." I said, "Because you know how my daddy is. My father is going to kill this boy. Like, it's going to be such a big, ugly thing." And my sister today, she was like, "Why didn't you say anything?" And I was like, really and truly, it would have just blew up the whole world that I knew, at the time. And I just I didn't want to lose Nikki or push her away. I didn't want my parents to fight with her parents. I didn't want my father to kill the boy, because in my mind, that's instantly what I thought. Austin is going to kill this boy. Like, it's like I could see it playing out, and my brother was going to beat him. Like, any chance that my brother got, my brother was going to beat him. And I just didn't want all that, right? So another year go by, and once I started going back over there, I was like, the last time I was just like, you know what? Like, I can't. I can't go no more. I can't take no more because it's getting to the point to where, I'm getting in trouble at home. My mother is saying things to me and, she's feeling like something's happening to me somewhere else. And it's like she blaming my father for it because at that time I had to move with my father. Because like I said, where my father went, I wanted to be. So I felt like she was blaming my father for not watching me, but I had got to the point to where I had started cutting my hair and I had long hair, like down my back, and I kind of had started changing very early. I didn't realize it then, but I know it now that that's when I really started being angry. Like I started having this attitude where I'd rather just be a witch with a bee to you so that you would not talk to me. Like if I didn't trust you enough, I didn't want you to talk to me. And so many different people who paid attention to me, like my grandmothers would ask me questions. One of my grandmothers was saying, something about you ain't right. And eventually you're going to tell me or tell somebody. And I used to be like, well, Mama Charles, why you say that? She was like, something about you different. And eventually you're going to tell somebody. And eventually, or you're going to tell me. Or, I'm going to fight. I'm going to figure it out. I right know what it is, but eventually you're going to tell somebody. So anyway, 9 years old comes. And like I said, I had got to the point to where I just had enough. Like I just couldn't go anymore. I felt like I was busting at the seams. And I want to say that that's when I really first started, um, like cutting myself and harming myself and burning myself. Little different things. I didn't recognize it then as that was self mutilation at the time when I was doing it. But that's when I really first started, because I was so the nerd in me would do weird stuff. Like I would do stuff um to get in trouble, or I would do stuff that would cause me pain so that I wouldn't think about it. I remember it was either my cat or my rabbit. It wasn't my cat because was it my cat? Because we moved from Decker Terrace to Earhart. We were living in Earhart whenever my parents divorced. So it might have been my cat. But one of my animals, I remember I tried to break their leg, and I can't remember what happened, but it wasn't good. But anyway, so finally I'm like, I think I want to say what happened was Mama Cynthia was like, something about you not right. Something's different. Something's wrong. Like, what's wrong? And she was like, I was like, no, ma'am, I'm good. I can go play back with Nikki. She was like, no, Miss Cynthia talking to you. Something's different about you. And I was like, well, I'm okay. I'm gonna just go home. I don't think I want to spend the night no more. And she was like, you don't want to spend the night no more. Like, girl, you live to come over here. Like, she was like, yeah, something not right. And she was like, you can tell me. I was like, in my, like the devil on my shoulder was saying, girl, if you don't tell her. But then again, if you tell her, you can't come over here no more. Then the angel was like, you need to tell her. Like, you just need to go on, tell her, go on, suck it up. You just need to tell her. Put your big girl panties on and just tell her. And I was sitting there like, I should ask me. Even though I knew in my mind, I was thinking, this is going to be my last weekend coming over here. If she wants to, she can come over here. But if he come anywhere around me, there's no telling what can happen to him. That's just how angry I had gotten. And I didn't even realize it until I think I had did something one weekend when I went to the country and I realized how evil I had become. Like I really was mean. So She's talking to me. She's asking me what's wrong with me, and I'm a kid, like I'm 9 years old, and I'm thinking it's about to go down. Like if I answer her question, you know, and she had been knowing me most of my life at this time, so she practically helped to raise me at this point. We had been me and her daughter had been friends for a long time, so she practically knew like my mannerisms, my facial expressions, the way my voice, like so she was picking up on something. But anyway, I really feel like it was the spirit that told her, "Hey, Studi." So I was like, once I'm gonna tell her like what happened, it's gonna be bad. Like, cause like I said, in my mind, I'm thinking my daddy gonna kill this dude and my brother gonna beat him. So I remember she called Nikki's father at the time. I mean, he's passed away now, but she had called her father. And when she called her father, I was like, why she call him? Like, what? Like, oh man, why he gotta be in here? So he was like, what's going on? He was like, what's wrong with you? To me, like, because at this time I'm crying because I really don't want to tell her. I really would just rather go to my house. And she was like, do I need to call your mom? And I was like, no, like, please don't call my mama. Like, we could talk about whatever you want, but don't call my mama. Because I'm like, she called my mama calling my daddy, and it's going to be bad. Like, the cops going to be here in probably 8.9 seconds. And so she was like, she told my friend's dad, sit down. Like, she gonna tell us something, and I have a feeling it's gonna be something big. I think I might have an idea what it is, but so she was like, well, did you and Nikki get into it? And I was like, no, ma'am, me and Nikki good. So she called Nikki, like, did y'all get into it? And Nikki was like, what's wrong with her? Like we were just having fun. Like, what happened? And I was like, no, ma'am, we didn't get into it. Like, we fine. I don't know if we're gonna be fine after I tell you what you're trying to make me tell you, in a kid's way. But I'm like, right now we fine. So now Nikki holding my hand, like, what's wrong with you? And so her mama made her leave, and I was like, would have been better if she would have been standing right here. So finally, I tell them, and I don't exactly remember every single thing that happened. I remember, her like kind of saying like, oh my goodness, like, what do you mean? And when did this happen? And how, I kind of remember that part. And then I remember in my mind, and to me, it seemed like Nikki and I kind of separated. And I remember my mom and her mom talking. And I remember her father and talking to him. And I remember for a little bit, I kind of vaguely remember that he tried to deny it at first, and was kind of like making it seem like I had wanted that transaction to go like that. And I don't know, I don't remember everything, but I know it was bad, right? So I I want to say either they moved away or they sent him away, and I want to say they sent him to Mississippi, I think. But I know that we didn't see each other as much as we used to, because I think they stopped going to our church and started going to another church. And then, like I said, we had moved from when we were living next door to each other. We moved to another house, and then I had moved with my father. And as much as I could be with my father, I would be with my father, because back then, like I said, it did something to my mental and my emotional way of being, like being tampered with at such an early age like that, and stuff. It made me just I felt like I just was never going. I felt like I broke into a million pieces, to be honest. And I felt like, because I waited, like it was 2 years at the time. 2 years had went by of just all type of whatever. And I had started, like getting into trouble. I had started, kind of making some not want to do my schoolwork and not want to be still, not want to be quiet, not really want to go to class. Excuse me. So any chance I could get to be with my father, I was jumping on it. I wanted to be with my daddy because my mom was strict. My mom was like, "You gonna go to church? You gonna do this? You gonna do that? We don't do this. We don't do that." Type of situation. And for some strange reason, back then, after a certain time, it was almost like she didn't really know how to talk to me, and I didn't really know how to talk to her. Um, and I really felt like, and I don't think I've ever told this to my parents, but I really felt like my father let me down in a sense, but I was okay with him letting me down in a sense because I didn't want him to kill the boy or get into any kind of trouble, right? And I felt like my mother, I won't say she let me down, but I felt like my mother didn't listen to everything that I was saying. Because I remember trying to tell her when the situation happened, but I just kept hearing him say, "Nobody not gonna believe you," and I'm gonna deny it. And I just left it alone. So then fast forward, right? Probably 3 years or so go by. I'm trying to get back to the best version of myself that I can. I'm still young. I'm still trying to grow. At this time, the best thing that happened to me was me becoming, getting my sister Shawan and Dana, and um, being able to pretty much spend a majority of my time. If I'm not in Central Heights or not in the country with my father, then I'm in Bear Station on 411 Lincoln. Um, and living, I felt like the best life I could. Like I felt like I had got blessed with the best gift I could have gotten because we did so, man, Mama Key let us be kids and we did so much stuff. Um, we would dance, we would try to break in our big sister room because she had the flower room back then, um, the water bed, and it was just fun, right? And I could talk to her about everything that I had been holding in. So then um, comes the next issue with sexual assault and stuff like that. So I'm 12, 13. My angel, who I call my angel, my sassy 60-year-old nanny, was married to Foco Loco's father at the time. And um, Foco Loco was a baby, I think. I want to say I remember her being a baby in Pampers. Like she was like a little bitty baby, months old, if I can recall correctly. And my cousin Cherie and Brandon were little. They were young. If I was 12, they had to be, what, maybe 4 and maybe 8. They were young, okay, little. So things happen over there. And I thought at the time that I would rather go through it for myself than to have these situations happen to my little cousin Cherie because she was so little and I remember what it was like, going through the situations that I went through. So I felt like, I would rather um, throw myself on the dagger, because I had already been there and done that and understood, kind of what I thought I was dealing with it the best way I could. So I remember telling my parents, because I'm thinking, surely, I've told you this 3 years ago, y'all kind of handled it pretty decent. I'm thinking if I tell you this and this is my family, it would go different. And it didn't go different. It was actually worse. I remember, and I need to make sure I say that I'm in no way, shape, form, or fashion trying to down talk or bash my parents. My parents did the best thing that they could do at that time. And you got to remember, this was back in the 80s. This was when, things like this just weren't really discussed, that I feel like they weren't discussed. You just didn't really have, um, I don't remember it being a place that you could just, it wasn't a time like now. Now, you would just say it and, it is what it is. But back then it was like you didn't really talk about those type of things. What happened in that house stayed in that house. If a girl was kind of acting out, she was fast, she was trying to, be promiscuous. If she started spreading or filling out, then that means that she was playing with boys the wrong way, and I was filling out because people was messing with me all the time, you know, whatever. So, um, I remember there's a picture that I have. It's me, my grandmother that we call Mama, my mom's mother, my mom, and my little cousin. I call the Galaxy Dancer now, Ebony. Were in my grandmother's front yard, and I think it was Easter or something like that, and we came from church or we going to church or something like that. But I remember looking at myself thinking, if anybody didn't know no better, they would think you were an adult because I had gone through so many things. My body blossomed very early. I remember getting my cycle, I think around 9 or 10 years old. Um, I remember I could wear my mother's clothes around 12, 13, 14. We wore size 8 shoes at the time. Together, I could go and wear some of her shoes if I. As a matter of fact, I wore my mother's bridesmaid dress. I want to say it was for my aunt's wedding. I wore it to my 8th grade dance. So, I was pretty, you know, thickums. I've always been a thickum girl, right? But anyway, I remember telling my parents what happened. I remember my mother saying that I was making it up and that I shouldn't make up such things because I could get my uncle in trouble. Like my uncle could go to jail for what I was saying had transpired, right? So I remember looking at my father like, so y'all not gonna believe me, okay? But I remember my parents making me go to, at the time was the McDonald's. It was on 330 in Decker uh back then, and he worked there. And I remember my parents bringing me to that McDonald's and making me apologize to the uncle for saying that had happened to me. And I remember at that moment, that was when I was like, I think that was when the original girl, Shantara, died at that moment. I don't think that I ever got back to that original person until I think I'm getting there right now. And this year probably has been the closest that I've ever been to, I think, that original girl. But from 12 until probably last year, I have been all over the place. I have been suicidal. I have been, um, I know from that moment until 17, I would cut myself. I really started drinking then. I remember being 15 years old, going into the Carrington Sport Bar and not even needing my ID. I would go with my family and my cousins and stuff to Carrington's, and they thought I was an adult because my body looked like the body that I have is pretty much the body I've had my whole life, breast and thighs and everything. So here comes my second topic, body shaming, body consciousness. So because I've always been that girl, the cousin, the friend, the classmate that was always bigger and thicker and juicier than the other girls, men have always seen me for what my body could bring to them. I've always felt that way. And because I had gone through so many different instances of these particular situations happening to me, um, the very first situation, the uncle situation, um, boys or grown men that were supposed to be grown men coming to my house because I thought that's what I was supposed to do situation. And I know that sounds crazy that I say I thought that's what I was supposed to do. I mean, I thought if I was going to have a significant other, that I would have to do these things that I didn't even care to do, right? Okay. Coaches, when I would go play volleyball, nobody to this day knew these things. I'm just not saying it right now talking to you. Step grandfathers, cousins, other uncles have always either came by me at a family reunion and said something, would try to throw sly remarks in front of my father to keep my father from killing them or beating them or harming them. Um, I know for a fact that my father has a lot of times just kept himself quiet to keep from harming people because of these type of situations. And I remember my father teaching me that he would teach me certain things to help me get through this particular situation that seemed to always happen to me, right? So I always felt like I was never good enough because I was always that cousin that was bigger. I was the biggest cousin, and I was could have been the younger one, but I was the bigger one. And then the way my parents raised me, I remember my aunts would come to the family union, they would come on the weekends to the country. And one of my aunts, who happens to be one of my favorite aunts on my father's side, I don't really have a favorite, but she's the one that I'm closer to. I call her my twin. She used to always say that, you can't wear that because your legs is too big for that. You can't wear that. That's not good. You need to cover yourself. But I always wanted to be comfortable. They wanted me to cover myself, but I always wanted to be comfortable. And I used to always say, but I have the same thing on that your daughter have on, but because your daughter is a 12, 14, or whatever she was at the time, and didn't have not a piece of fat on her, and my thighs is rotisserie, and I got big old breasts, I gotta cover myself, but she can walk around just like she is. Why is that? So then that made me want to rebel. And then when I did cover myself up, because I felt like if I wore anything, like if I'm going to church, grown men at church used to be looking at me like they could see what's under my skirt, right? So when I did cover myself up, then I felt like I needed to stay covered up. I used to wear big T-shirts if I was sexually active with my boyfriend, or if just I would always, if I go to take a bath, I'm make sure I'm gonna have all my clothes on when I come out. When I was younger. So how you see me now, like I posted myself showing my skin, I would never do that before. You know, I've always had issues of looking at myself in the mirror, and I think I would see myself like a slut, like a like a thought. I remember one time when we lived in Quail Hollow houses. For some reason, my mother felt like I was just out there. And I remember she used to tell me, I don't know where you even had your body at. I'm gonna need you to every time you use the bathroom, I'm gonna need you to spray the toilet. And I remember saying to myself, well, if I stay fat, then nobody not gonna want me. They're not gonna they're not gonna want to touch and feel on me and stuff like that. Little did I know some men only want you if you thick. Only want you if you got big old breasts and big old butt or a little bit of hips and you know. I realize right now while I'm having this conversation with you that me being body conscious or me having body shame is why I got into a lot of the relationships that I got into. I do remember in the when I was younger, my very first boyfriend, Brad Barrett, I will never forget it, was the first person to ever make me feel accepted no matter what size I was. He used to always say, do you ever see how he still to this day he'll tell me that if I say I don't feel like I'm good enough or pretty enough or whatever, he would still to this day say, but you are so amazing. Like, do you not look at yourself? Do you not see yourself? And anybody who don't see that about you is stupid, right? He's this little small petite, and back then he was really really petite, right? And I'm like, I'm gonna break you, like I'm this big 200 some pound little, girl, and you a little thin slim. Like, why do you want me? Like, why would you want to talk to me? And I just remember, and even as we got older, I remember him whenever we started back talking to each other again because we had broke up and then he was young. We had broke up, but my mother at the time that he was the only guy she liked out of all the other guys I talked to at that time. But anyway, even whenever we got back together, he would always say he used to always want to like look at my body, and I'd be like, I'm trying to take a bath. And he'd be like, girl, what they got to do with me want to talk to you while you taking? I'm like, I don't got clothes, and I didn't now, right now, recently I've been like thinking about just how body shaming and how, because that's my job, that's my business. That's some of the things that I want to be able to coach other, you know, people through, other melanated women through, but in order for me to do that, I have to be able to tap into what I felt like when I was going through those moments. So today, when my sister was telling me the story that she was telling me that led me to tell her my story, she was just like, and what happened? And I was like, Dana, I thought you knew these things. Like, she was like, girl, I remember part of it, but I didn't know all this and that. And, she was like, you can do this. It's like, you need to call schools and ask them and tell them that you want to come and mentor, and whatever you call it, you need to do it. You need to start with little bitty girls because that's when it starts. And I was like, okay. So it's okay if you are not cookie cutter. I'm trying to round everything all up, right? Sexual assault and sexual abuse, it takes a while to get through it. You're not gonna never think about it. It's not gonna never be in your DNA. And I think that's what the predators fail to realize. Some of them know exactly that point that it's not going to ever go away. And that's the pleasure that they get out of it because they could be dead and gone, but you're still carrying some of that residue in it's like it gets into your cellular makeup. Um, I can remember being married to my first husband, and I think I said this before, that poor baby had so many issues when it came down to certain things because he would give me a hug and he would give me a hug in a certain way and it would trigger something, or he would say something and it would trigger something, or he would buy me something and it would trigger something, and I would lose it on him. And he would be like, um, what is wrong with you? Like I could have said, bring me a Snickers, and he bring me the Snickers, and I'm like, and he'd be like, but you said you wanted, and I didn't understand at the time, um, why it would do that, but it would. So I'm recognizing that me becoming this persona, me becoming this life coach type situation is going to cause me to relive some things. I can remember when one of my aunts asked me if I was going to my step grandfather's uh, homegoing service. I'm like, no. Why would I want to go there? Like, honestly, I'm glad he did. And she was like, yeah, but you can't say stuff like that. I'm glad he did. Like, but now I understand, you know, I give away my blessings. I give away my power if I'm still holding on to something that somebody did. Because, like I said, they could be dead and gone, and you still over here pressed. Um, that doesn't mean that I have to forget about it. I actually now use those things as a way of remembering just how good God is to me and how far He's brought me and how strong I truly am when it comes to certain things. Because, like I said, moments can pop up that you don't even be expecting it to have that type of, impact on you. And then I realized that the moment I stopped living like a victim and stopped carrying myself like a victim, then I stopped being a victim. Um, it took a lot of incidents. It took sodomy. It took me not ever being able to have children because my body was so wrecked on the inside because of past traumas that I never still to this day talked about. I have had a lot of sexual trauma in my life. Um, I spent decades feeling like I would never be seen, feeling like I would never be heard, feeling like I was never good enough, feeling like I would never be able to experience what, you know, love without condition would feel like. And sometimes I still feel like I've never experienced what love without condition feels like. Um, I remember feeling like I will never be able to say I'm a survivor of this type of situation. I remember never wanting to tell my story because I never wanted to cause Nikki pain. I never wanted to cause Mama Cynthia pain. I never wanted to cause my parents pain. And I remember that Nikki wrote a book and she had an excerpt of a dream that she had pertaining me in her book. And I remember she kind of talked about my life in a sense in her book, and it upset me. So how it upset me, and I never did get a chance to explain to her why it upset me, was why I felt like I should have never said anything about the situation. I kind of sometimes wish I would have kept it to myself. Even at this moment when I'm speaking about it on Say It Ain't So Saturday, I still feel like some of the predators are still walking around and having better lives than me. Even though I forgive the people, I still feel like, why should you get a chance to speak to me? Or why should you get. I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna be real right quick. So, one of my situations, they have the one thing that I cannot have. And I feel like, if I just have to be honest with myself, I feel like it's so unfair. It's so unfair that that particular person gets to experience what it feels like to have their own child. And I feel like, why should God bless them with that particular gift? And they set the tone for what led to me not being able to do the same thing. But that's not how God works. That's not how any of this works. Um, I recognize that if it was meant for me to have a child, and if it is still meant for me to have a child, um, then it will be so. I find myself praying that they are healthy and that they have taken the time to allow God to change and rearrange those instances that made them feel like that was okay for them to do. Um, I hope that they had a chance to go to therapy, and stop the cycle of hurting others. Um, I recognize that I'm grateful to God because they didn't win. Because I'm still here. Um, I'm going to be able to tell my story. Um, I'm going to be able to use the things that they did that caused me so much stagnation to help others propel forward. Every time I do a squat, every time I do a lunge, every time I push my plate to something to put something else on it that's healthier, um, every time I get on here to talk to you all, every time I listen to something on Clubhouse, or just anytime I do something that's for the betterment of myself, I take back my power a little bit more each time. So they don't win. And I feel like the enemy should have killed me when he had a chance, because now I'm very comfortable in my own skin. I'm very comfortable in my 5'11". Now at this moment, 315 pounds versus the 500 some pounds that I piled on to try to keep people away from me. Um, I am not as quick to slice and dice someone. I am not quick to go into somebody's mouth as I used to be. But please don't get it twisted. She's still not her. Like, don't get it twisted. I'm not gonna say, but I'm just saying it's amazing that I'm not that person anymore, and it's amazing that one conversation with my sister allowed me to take some time today to just listen to the Spirit explain to me and bring back to me just how good God has been in my life and how many obstacles and hurdles and storms and tests and things that I have gone through. Like, it is just amazing to me. So, if you are out there, if you are a woman, if you are a man, if you are a girl, if you are a boy, and someone is touching you in a way that they should not be touching you, I don't care if it's your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins. I don't care who it is. If it's your doctor and they're touching you in a way that they should not be touching you, then you need to tell someone. It is not your fault. I don't care if you're a stripper on the pole and you run around with dental floss up your rear. I don't care if you are a call girl or a call boy, a gigolo or a prostitute. If someone is touching you and you did not want them to touch you, or you did not say give them the permission to touch you, or you did not, you said no, maybe you changed your mind. It is not your fault. It is not okay. You need to tell someone. You can send me a message. You can inbox me. You can text me. My numbers are in my thing. You can get in touch with me some type of way, shape, form, or fashion. I will put Matter of fact, I'm gonna put it right now. You can email me, you can call me. You need to tell someone. Excuse me, you can tell your pastor, you can tell you need to tell somebody. Tell someone. You can go on any one of my pages and send me a message. But yeah, if you have a group, I will come to your group. I will have a conversation with your group. We can have Zoom conversations. We can have phone conversations. If you have gone through this trauma and you have gotten through the trauma, but you still have some residue and you don't know what to do with the residue, you can call me. You can email me. Soon I will be going up. I will be going around to have these type of discussions. My sister has sparked something, and I know that she has it in her spirit, so she ain't gonna let it go. So I'm gonna figure out what to do. Maybe I'll go on a local live show and have a conversation with my brother about these type of situations. But we need to pay attention to our children. If our children, if our daughters, if our sons are changing, and sometimes 9 times out of 10, the boys are being tampered with and will never say anything, but they will start to fight. They will start to um, so many different things, y'all. My brain going all over the place, but this is my story. This is why I love people. This is why I love children. I want to make sure that I can be a child's advocate, whether it's sexual abuse, whether it's mental abuse, whether it's emotional abuse, whether it's physical abuse, any type of abuse that a child is going through. I want to safeguard that child. Any house or resident or place that I am in is a child safe zone. If you see that your girl Rain has a business, a storefront, or something, you can come into that place. You can write a note to somebody. They can come and get me, or they will know. Any one of my employees at any one of my places will know if a child or a woman or a man comes and they are in any type of danger of that magnitude, you will be in a safe place. So, that being said, no matter what your body makeup is, you are still a designer original. No matter if you have big old breasts and nobody else do, if you have a big old rear end and nobody else around you does, if you are a size 16, 18, 18, 20, 20, 22, 22, 24, and so on, you are still a designer original. If it is something about your physical makeup that you do not care for, you can change it. If it is something inside of your psyche that you can't handle, you need to get therapy. Therapy is for everyone, but you should get a therapist that looks like you, as in is melanated like you, maybe a woman like you, because that way they will be unbiased, but they will understand the type of world that you have to live in. All of our worlds are the same as in the place, but they are different as in the way we live and move and be and perceive them, right? So to any of the people that had any type of interaction with me in a bad negative way with my whole heart, I do forgive you. I do understand that it had to be something inside of your makeup, inside of your psyche that made you need to feel like you had to do this. Maybe this happened to you and you never told anyone. Maybe it was something that you saw and it tripped off something inside of you and you never picked that part of your life up. But if you have done these things to me in any way, shape, form, or fashion, I do solemnly forgive you. I bid you all blessings and honor. Um, I pray that God blesses you and that you have mercy everlasting. I do with every fiber of my being. I do humbly forgive you. Yes, you hurt me. Yes, you changed me. But you also created and helped me be stronger because you gave me this type of inner war zone that I use to put into action so many wonderful things. You made me look at the world in a whole totally different place. If I could ask you anything, I would ask you, why did you pick me? Why did you choose to do those things to me? And I would also ask, what did I ever do to you? And how would you feel if someone did that same thing to the most important women or men in your world and there was nothing that you could do about it? I would say you took my smile away for decades, broke my spirit for decades. You damaged the relationship between my mother and myself. You tried to damage the most important relationship to me, and that's the relationship that I had with my father. That didn't work. But because of God's grace and mercy, because God is sovereign, because God is the healer of everything, I'm slowly but surely getting my smile back. I am getting my love for myself back. I have gotten my peace back. I have gotten my sexuality back. Still, I have some work there, but with everything in me, like I say, I do forgive you. I wish you well, and that's all I gotta say about that. So, to all my family and my friends that have gone through these type of situations, man, I love y'all so much. Y'all are so strong. Y'all are so the bomb, and y'all are survivors just like me. And better days are coming. Like there's so much that God has in store for us. And I love each and every one of you all. Dang it, I'm trying not to get emotional. But anyway, you know what it is. And now you know a little bit more about who it is. It's your girl Rain. This has been said, and so Saturday. Thank you for letting me share my testimony. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you to my sisters and friends who believed me the first time I told them. Thank you to my parents for creating me as the person that I am. I'm so truly proud of myself at this moment because I didn't think I would ever be able to, in a public way, say my story like that. God is good. His mercy endures forever. And everything is going to be okay. And those rapes and molestations and torments don't make me. It didn't break me, they don't make me. But in a way, they molded me. And I am forever grateful. So, you already know I'm coming deuce out the roof. I love, love, love all of you all. I do everything that I do for the love of you. And you should always make sure that you love God, love each other, and love yourself. You have to love yourself. Even when it seems like you're not good enough. Even when they try to take everything that makes you special. You are more than what your body brings. Yeah, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are a designer original. You are beautiful. You are handsome. You are strong. You are smart. You are great. You are amazing. You are seen. You are heard. You are loved. You are wanted. You are necessary. And I'll see y'all in a couple of shakes of the rabbit's tail. I gotta go. And I love y'all. And tomorrow's Super Soul Sunday. Make sure you take some time giving God some thanks and some praise. Make sure you check on your family and your friends. Like the Galaxy Dancer herself, Ebony Stewart says, check on your strong friends. Yeah, I gotta go. See y'all later.